Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Island Villa, the perfect feel-good summer read, by Lily Graham, narrated by Henrietta Meire. 1. Formentera, present day. I'll never forget the day I saw the villa for the first time, sparkling like a clean sheet in the sleepy Spanish sun. The shutters were the colour of pale lichen, and dusky bougainvillea trailed over the whitewashed stone. It was a simple place, in a sparse cubic design that was centuries old as this oft-forgotten slip of land itself. The house, dominated by views of the sea, a paint swirl of turquoise that met darkest navy across the horizon, vast and unknowable, and full of promise. The air seemed somehow to whisper with it, and I had this feeling, there in the warm, citrus-flavoured sunshine, the scent coming from the orange and lemon trees that had grown wild and abandoned in the forgotten garden, of something inside me stirring, like some bone tapestry had threaded beneath the ground and called out to my flesh to bring me home. The feeling was powerful, yet fleeting, over in the length of a sigh. But for the first time in months, I felt something shift, and for a moment, as if, just maybe, I'd be all right. The villa was a chapter from a familial past of long before my birth. It belonged to a sepia-coloured photograph of an almost forgotten corner of my family history. People whose names had been all but washed away by the changing tides. Yet here I was, like a message in a bottle washed ashore from the wide arms of the ocean, like flotsam. Not by chance, though, but by love. By my husband, James. Because one of the last things he did before he died was buy this house. He always did have a flair for the dramatic. I found out about the villa on the day of his funeral, like we were in some epic film, the drama of which he would have loved. I can almost imagine him planning it, the way he would have pictured it in his head, arranging all the players and waiting for the last possible moment to make his announcement, to have the final word, even in death. I found out after the guests had left. Sage, my teenage daughter, was in bed, cried out and exhausted, and the house was quiet. Too quiet. The sort of stillness that demands a scream. I was sitting in the living room, with the curtains closed, the twin doors pulled shut, the tumbler of whiskey on the side table, wearing the black silk dress we'd picked out together, when we could almost convince ourselves that it wasn't really for this occasion. He'd chosen it, because he'd liked that it showed off my legs. But that was then. It hung off me like a sack now, as I sat, my head between my knees, while I tried and failed to contemplate the future without him. Charlotte Wolfe, 45, mother, mystery novelist has-been, widow. I'd made peace with my advancing age and my flagging career, but I wanted no part in the last. None at all. There was a faint knock on the door, and Alan, my brother, came in. He was wearing that smile, excavated from somewhere deep and broken. The smile, the living reserve for those left behind. He took a seat, and put the letter down on the side table, propping it up against my whiskey glass. "It's from James. His last wishes and all that, Twig," he said. My brother has called me Twig for most of my life, even when I'd long since stopped resembling a stick insect with twig-like limbs, even when the nickname seemed more ludicrous still when I put on a load of baby weight that never quite went away for a decade. He appeared a little nervous as he crossed and uncrossed his slim legs, hands brushing his wool trousers.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?